The following is a special presentation of UPN News 13. Watch this. For nearly a century, the Wizard of Oz has given faithful service to the young in heart, and time has been powerless to put its kindly philosophy out of fashion. To those of you who have been faithful to it in return, and to the young in heart, we dedicate this story.
UPN Channel 13, in association with Radio City Entertainment, presents Rainbows and Witches and Ruby Red Slippers, The Wizard of Oz.
It begins in Kansas.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Gale of Kansas. Well, up to 12 times a week, I get to play Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. My real name is Jessica Grove, and I'm from Ohio. It's been wonderful traveling with this play for the last 2 years. Tonight, with my friends, I'm going to take you on a very special journey to a magical land where we'll encounter witches, munchkins, a good-hearted wizard, and so much more in one of the greatest stories ever told. But where did the Wizard of Oz come from in the first place? Well, as the Good Witch tells Dorothy, the best place to start is at the beginning. Just follow the yellow brick road.
The man who wrote this famous story was L. Frank Baum. He started out as an actor, and though he would be many things in his life, he was most famous as an author. His first children's book was Mother Goose in prose, illustrated by an unknown artist at the time, Maxfield Parrish. The book was magnificent, but it was his Oz books that would bring him the most fame.
I've learned to regard fame as a will-o'-the-wisp. When caught, it is not worth the possession, but to please a child is a sweet and lovely thing that warms one's heart and brings its own reward.
Frank was a family man, devoted to his wife and 4 sons, and he loved to tell stories to children.
And the stories became so popular that the neighborhood kids would come by to hear the stories. In fact, it's said that a constable came around the Baum house every evening at 9 o'clock to take all the children home.
At the urging of his mother-in-law, Frank put the stories on paper.
A lot of thought is required on one of these fairy tales. The odd characters are a sort of inspiration liable to strike me any time.
This proved to be quite a problem for his wife, Maud.
She would have to change the wallpaper because he would just write on anything he could find.
Yeah.
He would just get inspired and he would just start writing.
She told me that story.
In 1900, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz was published. It was illustrated by W.W. Denslow, a friend and accomplished artist.
And it was an enormous success. And a major reason for this was that both Baum and Denslow paid to have the color plates done for the book. So you had 24 color plates plus textual illustrations that change with the color of the different countries.
The Baum family moved around the country, but in 1910 they finally settled in Hollywood, and he continued to write even when his health began to fail him. And he was still able to write his 14th and final book in the Oz series, The Magic of Oz.
He did mention when someone interviewed him that he felt that this story was inspired by the great author. And the great author had a message to get across. And he was going to be the instrument at hand to get across peace and understanding to people.
In his last few years, Frank had become a part of Hollywood, and it was Hollywood that helped give Dorothy of Kansas immortality.
One of Baum's amazing accomplishments in Oz was creating a female protagonist that the audience not only accepted, but embraced so warmly.
A little girl is whirled from her home in Kansas and lands in the magical land of Oz. Eager to get back home, Dorothy endured a perilous journey, searching for her heart's desire. From her innocence, strength and determination were born.
I'd turn back if I were you.
That this young girl was literally searching for her own identity, her own soul, and that she had this adventure. And in it, she asserted her leadership, and she became a person with confidence in herself.
Which is the way back to
She
Kansas?
stays so focused on what's important to her. all the way through. Whenever she's asked in the story, what do you want? I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home. And she doesn't waver in that.
She has to find her way in the world. She has to find out what the world means to her. And I think for a lot of adolescent children, that's what they were facing at the turn of the century. What am I going to do with my life?
We do! To Oz! To Oz! We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Here he is, the Wizard of Wiz, if ever a wizard was. If ever a wizard was, the Wizard of Oz.
In 1900, a fairy tale featuring a little girl as the main character and heroine was way ahead of its time. Dorothy's character reflected the strong women in Frank Baum's life. Matilda Gage, his mother-in-law, along with Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, wrote the history of the women's rights movement.
L. Frank was always surrounded by lots of very strong, powerful women. They had to be a powerful influence on his thinking.
Shame on you! Picking on poor little doll!
Well, you didn't have to go and hit me, did ya? Is my nose bleeding?
I think she's definitely a heroine, and helping out different people along the way, and saving her dog, saving her friends from the witch. Yeah, she's a heroine. It is an honor to portray this wonderful American heroine. I'll be back later in the show, but next you'll meet my first and best friend from Oz, the Scarecrow, and we'll continue the journey that Baum's fantasy has taken in this century. And you'll meet my hero, Mr. Mickey Rooney. Opening night at the Pantages Theater was Thursday. Mixing paparazzi and dozens of Dorothys, it was Hollywood meets Broadway in the land of Oz.
Well, dear Gussie, look at the story, look at the excitement, the wonderment, the fantasy. It's what every kid in the world, and let's face it, I'm 73 now. The first time I saw it was when it first came out in '39. And I just love it to pieces, as we all do, good gravy.
We have two Dorothys here. One's Kylie right here. Can you turn around and say hi? Hi. Hey, that was pretty good.
Well, the appeal is it's the great American story.
Hello. Hey, Ashley. Good. I was a little stressed at the beginning.
My first performing thing ever was playing Toto in the Ruidoso High School production of The Wizard of Oz. I was all of like 7 years old, and I had the dog suit and everything.
Rainbows and Witches and Ruby Red Slippers, The Wizard of Oz, is being brought to you by your California Chrysler and Plymouth dealer. Right now, get 1.9% APR or cash allowances on all Chrysler and Plymouth minivans.
Choosing an award-winning Chrysler or Plymouth car is now easier than ever during the Chrysler Plymouth Buyer's Choice. Depending on model, get cash allowances up to $1,500 or 1.9% APR for up to 60 months. Or select low leases on select award-winning cars, including Chrysler 300M, Motor Trend's 1999 Car of the Year. Choices like these won't last long. The Buyer's Choice, now for a limited time only.
Buy or lease now at your California Chrysler and Plymouth dealer.
At American Tourister, we've always subjected our luggage to some pretty harsh treatment. So we took it to Islands of Adventure at Universal Studios Escape in Orlando, where it met Rex. American Tourister. Tough luggage for a tough world.
Yeah, I got a girlfriend, but around dinner time, my heart belongs to Marie.
Introducing Marie Callender's Complete Skillet Meals.
Marie and I really stir it up.
Marie makes it special, like using tender sliced beef and baby peas in her rich stroganoff. You cook it fresh in minutes.
Do I have it good or what?
Marie Callender's Complete Skillet Meals. Fresh from your freezer.
For me, there's only Marie.
Well, we're certainly not in Kansas anymore, are we? That looked more like Emerald City than any cornfield I've ever been in. I'm Casey Colgan, at your service. And I must tell you, Ray Bolger, the classic scarecrow from the 1939 film, has truly been an inspiration to me. But guess what? He wasn't the first or even the second actor to get stuffed with hay and put on that yellow brick road. 100 years ago, L. Frank Baum completed his manuscript about the little girl from Kansas and her big adventure. He originally titled it The Emerald City. But his publisher told him that any book with a jewel in the title was doomed to failure. Baum then offered From Kansas to Fairyland and the Fairyland of Oz before he finally decided on The Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
And in 1900, the book came off the presses and was on its way to immortality. In 1990, actor John Ritter portrayed the author in the film Dreamer of Oz.
Frank was a dreamer, and he always wanted his characters to live outside the pages of his book. That's why later on he decided to transform The Wizard of Oz into a stage musical.
When I wrote the fairy tale, I allowed my imagination full play so that a great deal of the action is absolutely impossible to adapt to the limitations of the stage.
But he quickly overcame those limitations. Frank wrote the script and song lyrics, and a young composer named Paul Tietjens wrote the music. The play opened in 1903 at the Majestic Theater in New York.
Few people can understand the feelings of an author who for the first time sees his creations depicted by living characters upon the stage. Big lump came into my throat and a wave of gratitude swept over me that I had lived to see the sight.
The musical played 18 months on Broadway and continued touring the country as late as 1911. But this was only the beginning of The Wizard of Oz's fame. In 1908, Frank took Dorothy and her friends on the road in his Fairy Log and radio plays, a show with live actors, musicians, and color film. 6 years later, Frank started the Oz Film Company and produced The New Wizard of Oz. The next film version of Baum's book was released in 1925, after Frank's death. It starred an up-and-coming new comedian, Oliver Hardy, and was written by Frank's son, Frank Baum Jr. He had first offered the script to MGM, but ended up selling it to Chadwick Pictures. It would be 14 years later when MGM finally did buy the rights to The Wizard of Oz for $40,000. And in 1939, the film version that practically everyone in the world knows and loves was released. This framed picture in the Oz room of Ozma Mantell and her daughter Dorothy reminds them of their grandfather's vision.
How could this story, this fairy tale, have so much impact in our culture? And then to think that I'm related to the man who wrote this.
When you look at how the 1939 film evolved, the MGM film with Judy Garland, it's remarkable that it ever really got made, because when it was conceived, no one seemed to know exactly how to deal with it. When MGM bought the property from Sam Goldwyn, who had had it for several years, they were thinking of a live-action film to compete with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which of course was an animated film. And I don't think there had been anything in Hollywood quite like The Wizard of Oz at that time.
Frank's widow Maud attended the Hollywood premiere in August that year and read this speech written out on MGM stationery.
One of the greatest thrills of my life will be to see the land of Oz with all of its great people. What one Baum created come to life under the magic of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in the marvelous production of The Wizard of Oz.
A crowd was waiting for Judy in New York at that premiere, and MGM sent her best friend along to accompany her. Thousands of people cheered as Mickey Rooney led Judy through Grand Central Station. One of life's happy twists would be that 60 years later, he would be the wizard himself. Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland did 10 pictures together and became the best of friends. Judy's career was just beginning, but Mickey was already a seasoned professional.
He was born Joe Yule Jr. on September 23, 1920, to vaudeville performers. His mother got him on stage when he was just 18 months old, and he hasn't stopped working since.
He's done over 200 films, has received 2 Oscars and an Emmy. Not bad for a man just 79 years old. And who would have thought that back in 1939, when MGM sent Mickey along to promote The Wizard of Oz with Judy Garland, that 60 years later, Mickey would be in The Wizard of Oz as the wizard himself.
One that can take her there.
Oh, could you?
Could I? Well, I think that it's a beautiful thing because he gives the gift. The wizard gives the gift of true meaning in life. He gives the scarecrow a brain, lion courage, and the Tin Man a heart.
Mickey Rooney is perfectly suited for the wizard, and it really has been a joy to work with him. He also brings an association with Judy Garland, which is very touching and adds another resonance to the piece. He's there's something impish and devilish about him.
Well, I think it's an honor to work with Mickey Rooney. I remember growing up watching all of his movies, and who knew that I would be on stage with him? And sometimes I'm sitting there on stage in that window scene at the end, and I'm right next to Mickey, and I look at him and say, wow, I'm on stage with a world-renowned star, and who would have thought that I'd ever be in a position like that?
The audience loves seeing Mickey. When he makes his first entrance, the applause goes on for quite a while, and it's actually gratifying to think that, you know, at that point in your life, you deserve that kind of recognition. I've always been very touched that he gets it, and it's a beautiful thing.
And I think it's so incredible that Mickey Rooney is the wizard. That's the best casting in the world.
I remember watching it when I was a kid. I never, dreamed that I'd be seeing him as the wizard, so it's great.
Mickey Rooney, of course, is terribly funny. He can be dramatic, he can be comedy, he can be anything. He's a midget Lionel Barrymore. He's so great.
Oh, he is a wizard anyways. He's got dialogue that won't quit.
If you'd like to win tickets to see this incredible show live, just click into www.upn13.com and play the Denny's Wizard of Oz trivia game. That Joanne Worley is such a witch. Well, she is, and you'll see for yourself next. Plus, we'll do the Jitterbug, a number cut out of the MGM film, but restored in our stage version.
He waged a war on a system that failed.
You are not inferior.
He battled the street to protect the innocent.
This is an institution of learning, ladies and gentlemen. If you can't control it, how can you teach?
Morgan Freeman stars in the true story of Joe Clark.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
One teacher's fight to give his students a future.
What? Mr. Clark!
Lean on Me. Sunday at 6 on UPN 13.
With AT&T Digital One Rate, this is no ordinary phone. It's my you can reach me in Austin, then Denver, then Philly phone. My hey, let me pick up the kids today phone. My I'm working from home today phone. My hey honey, Michael made black belt phone.
The world of wireless has changed. AT&T Digital One Rate. No roaming or long distance charges across all 50 states. So now AT&T could make your wireless phone your only phone.
Families everywhere have discovered the real power, real comfort, and real style of the new Buicks. Now, during Buick Summer Savings, even more families can move up to Buick. With $3,000 cash back on Park Avenue Ultra, $1,000 cash back on Regal, and $1,500 cash back on Century. A Consumer's Digest Best Buy 2 years running. Raise your sights and move up to Buick. Now, during Buick Summer Savings.
Temperature 95, humidity 95%.
Our bodies perspire in more places than one.
A sprinkle a day, fresh all over all day.
Shower to Shower body powder has a unique absorption formula to help keep you drier all over.
A sprinkle a day, fresh all over all day.
And it has a time-release fragrance to keep you fresher all over. So it keeps going, just like you, from shower to shower.
Have you had your sprinkle today?
Darlings, aren't you sick and tired of all that sweetness? Please spare me that adorable little doggy and that darling little girl. Yuck! You know, though, every good story needs a really good bad guy, and The Wizard of Oz is no exception. Now, I happen to be the current Wicked Witch of the West, but it's not easy being mean. Oh, boy, I've had to get in touch with my dark side.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Who could ever forget Margaret Hamilton's performance as the Wicked Witch of the West in the 1939 film classic? As this story has been brought to life for the stage, the role lives on in some very unique performances.
Give me back the ruby slippers.
It's fabulous fun to be the witch. I think this is a role I've been in training for all my life. And I think there's a little bit of the witch in all of us.
We've had some wonderful Wicked Witches, and Joanne is a lot of fun. You know, she's true to the play, which is very important, but at the same time, she brings her own, you know, special humor to the part.
You stay out of this, Galinda!
She is just a nut, and we never know what's going to come out of her mouth on stage. She makes up her lines as she goes along. And they're always something new and fun, and she keeps the company laughing and keeps us going every night.
Roseanne also brought some of her own nuances to the role.
Smart Alec that turned her into a house.
Roseanne was a stitch. She was incredibly funny. It was an unusual Wicked Witch. It was unexpected.
Example, when Roseanne would say, I would say to her, oh, ha 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 ha, you know, begone, you have no power here. And she would go, talk to the hand, girlfriend.
And only Eartha Kitt could make the witch wickedly sexy.
I toured the longest with Eartha Kitt, and she added her Catwoman type flair to the role, and she did her purring and growling, and they even created this witch cat suit for her to wear.
It's a wonderful, meaty role, and I'm just grateful that some other people have worked it out before me, found some good things, which I absolutely use.
Dorothy, is it? Can I call you Dot? Our musical is very faithful to the film you know and love, but we've put back something you didn't see in the original. The jitterbug. Oh, yeah.
The adaptation of the stage version of The Wizard of Oz is remarkably close to the classic film. But this production also has something that film didn't have. The jitterbug.
A jitterbug is a little bug that comes to bite you and makes you dance until you're exhausted, makes you fall on the ground because you're exhausted. It actually is very cute. They shot some of it for the film, but none of the footage remains. The only thing that remains is some home movies that I think Harold Arlen took.
Judy Garland and friends spent 5 weeks rehearsing and filming the jitterbug, but the number was cut after the first preview.
Hey, look, it's country lion dancing.
When they made stage versions of the Wizard of Oz, they put it back, and it's great on stage because at that point in the show, you don't have any more production numbers, so it's nice to have a production number in the last third of the show.
The jitterbug came back to life when the movie was adapted to the stage, but during the first year at Madison Square Garden, there were some time constraints, and the jitterbug number was left out.
When we came back the second year, and we did it with Eartha Kitt, we thought, well, we've got Eartha Kitt, it would be nice to give her something to sing.
Well, it's about time. This witch has been numberless for all these years. It's about time.
Who's that hiding in the treetops? It's that rascal, the jitterbug. Should you catch him, 'cause they rhyme, keep away from jitterbug. If I weren't playing the Wicked Witch of the West, the part I'd love to play is the Cowardly Lion, because he can legally chew up the scenery. He has long curly hair and count 'em, 2 songs. So I'll get you, my pretties, at the Pantages. Yeah!
Anything Joanne does is just filled with energy and love and fun, and that's how she's been her entire life.
It'll be interesting to see how she comes out of her shell to play this part. Is that her yelling now?
She's yelling for us to get into our seats. We'll be there! We're coming, Joanne!
The Acura RL has distinctive styling to appeal to your elegant side. A performance-tuned suspension to satisfy your assertive side. And a sophisticated front and side airbag system to protect both sides. The 1999 RL from Acura.
Baby, do you love me?
Of course I do.
What do you love most about me?
Well, Michelob, I love you more than life itself.
What did you call me?
I called you Teresa.
No, you did not. You just called me Michelob. I'm out of here.
Wait.
What?
While you're up, could you give me a Michelob?
There's ordinary beer. Then there's the smooth taste of Michelob. Beer or Michelob?
Does unforgettable have to be unaffordable? Not if you take a drive to Priceless Bridals, where you just might find a $2,600 hand-beaded Chantilly lace gown for $399. And then for another great marriage of high quality and low prices, stop at Arco. You'll treat your car right and start saving some of that money you'll need for those fancy napkins with your names printed on them. Arco, there's no better gas and no better deal.
Imagine TV.
Get up, get going, and get away to your California Mercury dealer. Hurry in now for 0.9% APR financing on practically every new Mercury. From Mountaineer, Sable, and Grand Marquis, each with a California package that includes no-charge leather seating and special wheels, to the newly restyled Villager with more room and power. So, for 0.9% APR financing, get up, get going, and get away to your California Mercury dealer now.
Is a classic. I mean, it's there's so many elements to it. There's the fantasy, there's the reality, there's the story that it tells, the lesson that it teaches.
I'm just pleased that I can bring my daughter Alan to see The Wizard of Oz. I mean, that's the big thrill to me because somebody brought me.
Well, it's such a wonderful story, and of course, as a child, my favorite books were the Oz books.
Put 'em up, put 'em up. Oh. Welcome back to Rainbows and Witches and Ruby Red Slippers. Behind the scenes with The Wizard of Oz, now playing at the Pantages Theater. In fact, we're located opposite the new subway station at Hollywood and Vine, which salutes Tinseltown's best, including the 1939 classic. That wizard featured Bert Lahr as me. Oh, I mean, that is, as the Cowardly Lion. In real life, I'm Francis Rivavar. And every night, when the cast takes the stage, we remember that we are recreating a beloved film that has special meaning for everyone in the audience.
From the makeup Judy Garland and the rest of the cast wore in The Wizard of Oz, to the costumes and wigs, to the scenery and backdrops, conforming this classic film to a stage has been a labor of love, but also an overwhelming task.
Well, adapting The Wizard of Oz for the stage would give anybody pause, certainly gave me pause. One of the main things that we didn't want to lose from the film was the idea of going totally from no color to great color. And then every scene once we get to Munchkinland is a riot of color.
To make this happen, everything you see on stage in the Kansas scene is in shades of brown and gray. Dorothy even has 2 dresses, the one on the left for before the cyclone and the one on the right for her adventure through Oz.
And Kansas, she says, is the name of the star. Kansas, she says, is the name of the star.
We've all seen the apple trees in the movie, but the apple trees are guys in the movie.
She was hungry.
She was hungry.
Well, how would you like to have someone come along and pick something off of you?
Well, in this version, they're huge apple trees, but they're all women's voices, like the Andrews sisters. And they then amplify that scene, which is still an intimate scene, but has a backup. You know, it's not like a full chorus coming out, but it's suddenly a little bit of the Supremes showing up in Oz for a moment, and the audience really gets a kick out of it.
Well, how would you like to have someone come along and pick something off you?
In the film, you see Dorothy and the Scarecrow and Toto for their whole first scene. It's a long scene for only 3 little people on a gigantic stage. And originally there was a backup chorus written for some crows. So we add the crows in, and the crows fly in, and they're humans dressed as crows. And it gives a whole shape to the entire scene now.
Said the blackbird, well, 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 what is Underwood to do with common sense? Said the Scarecrow, would be pleasing just to reason out the reason of the witchness and the whyness and the whence. If I had an ounce of common sense. If I had an ounce of common sense.
One little girl last night at the stage door said to her mom, who told me later that when the show was over, she says, "Can we rewind it and watch it again?"
Ray Bolger, Jack Haley, and Bert Lahr shaped the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion into some of the most famous and enduring roles in movie history. Through the unique talents of some very gifted performers, these characters continue to live on in our hearts.
I don't think anybody is better than Ray Bolger, and I think it's very hard to follow someone's footsteps like that. I personally try to take what's in here and put Casey into the character instead of like copying the person from the movie.
I could while away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain.
Dirk Lombard has also stretched the part of the Tin Man a little with his own talents as a tap dancer.
It's great, actually, you know, playing the Tin Man in this production because I get to tap. Because it always made sense to me that he was tin, he was metal, and why they didn't incorporate that, and again, loving tap that I do. Something that he said, that I read, and he said he thought, trying to find a voice of the Tin Man, he used a voice that he used when he read to his children. He used a particular voice. And all of a sudden, that made sense to me.
Tinsmith forgot to give me a heart. No heart! Oh, hollow. Put 'em on, put 'em on.
The Cowardly Lion is adored by many generations. Bert Lahr brought that character to life, giving it personality that no one could ever forget.
It's hard not to do Bert Lahr, but yet you kind of have to throw some of those things in there because the audience is just waiting for it. The put 'em up, you know, and all that stuff. But I've evolved to a point where I can find some things of my own to put in there.
Thank you very much.
Now we should talk about the real hero in The Wizard of Oz, Toto. Why, if not for him, this story would never have happened. He caused Dorothy to be caught up in that twister, and it was Toto who challenged the witch and unmasked the wizard.
In the book, The Wizard of Oz, Toto is described as a little black dog with a wee little nose. In the film, Toto was a little Cairn Terrier named Terry. The same breed of dog in this show, only they have 2.
One in the sunglasses is Plenty. She's our star, Toto. And the one in the red bow tie, which you may or may not be able to see, is Ashley. And she is our stunt Toto. Ashley does all the work and Plenty gets all the credit. When Plenty goes on stage first, she does all of Kansas, and then she will do the beginning of Munchkinland. Jessica, the young girl who plays Dorothy, sends her off to me, and then I go put Plenty in the kennel, go get Ashley, bring Ashley out, get her real psyched up to run out there and do a spin.
But Toto is quite remarkable. They have to learn to sit in one place for 3 minutes and not move while another scene's going on. They have to run out the door, out of the witch's castle. They have to learn how to do that on cue. So the dogs are remarkable. They're beautifully trained.
Ashley and Plenty are just like the rest of the cast. They rehearse like everyone else. Then go back to their dressing room. Look how big it is. They hang out at lunch. Drinking out of the conductor's cup is a favorite pastime. Everyone seems to love them. But how do they really feel?
Well, the only thing I can say bad about Toto is that Toto has bad breath. But I love him so much, I don't care.
Well, Toto runs out after I do in curtain call, and Toto oftentimes gets a little bit more applause, a little bit more screaming or awing than I get. So I usually whisper in her ear, "You brat."
They're better trained than some of my actors sometimes, you know. They do what they're told.
I love Toto, even though he scares me a little bit sometimes. Oh, shucks, just kidding. Nowadays, nothing scares me except the special effects in our show. A little bit sometimes. That's next. But don't you be scared. Oh, and also we'll meet the amazing Mickey Rooney, who inspires all of us. And our angel, Jessica Grove, who's just a delight.
Critics are raving. Time magazine declares him Tarzan, him great. It's breathtaking and funny. You'll go 8 for Tarzan.
Get off, get off, get off!
Rated G, now playing at a theater near you.
Yeah, honey.
Hi. What are you doing?
Knocking out a little yard work.
Honey?
Yeah?
That's not our yard.
Get the vitamins and herbs you want with the Body Benefits Pack system from Your Life. Start with a daily pack and add Body Benefits packs for an extra boost. It's your life. Take care of yourself.
Why buy a family van from a company that's been devoted to trucks for 98 years? 2 words, bigger and stronger. GMC Safari, with standard room for 8, and impressive towing capacity that's stronger than all minivans. GMC Safari, more than a minivan, a bigger and stronger van. Right now, buy a 99 Safari and get $1,500 cash back or 0% APR financing. Safari by GMC.
Due to a track fire, this train will be temporarily delayed.
Hey, it's me. I'll see you in a little while. Oh, is that your hand? Sorry.
But anywhere you go, you're bound to find a chicken in.
Right now, our chicken sandwich is just 99 cents, and it ain't nothing but delicious. Burger King, when you have it your way, it just tastes better.
Hotel accommodations provided by the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan, convenient to Broadway. When traveling to New York, call the Roosevelt, 1-888-TEDDY-NY.
Hi, everybody. We're having a lot of fun creating Oz in Hollywood at the Pantages Theater. Now, when you come to see our show, magic really happens. Now, as the great and powerful Oz, I can tell you that magic does come from the heart. But to do special effects, that, ladies and gentlemen, takes brains and courage.
Every night, the special effects crew assembles all the explosive charges in the stage so that when the Wicked Witch makes an entrance, she gets noticed. All of the special effects and pyrotechnics were designed by O'Connor Effects here in Los Angeles.
When she makes her entrance, there's a ramp which comes up out of the stage. We have big blasts of sparks here, we have sparks out on the side, and a large quantity of smoke comes pumping up out of the floor as well.
Ian and his wife work out all the bugs before sending them out on the road.
The show would really not be The Wizard of Oz without them. You need to see, for instance, just let's talk about the broom that has to erupt into fire when the witch just out of some decision decides, okay, I'm going to turn my broom into a fire broom. Well, of course, that's a special effect. And it's all intricately worked out, and it's made in a lightweight fashion so that the witch can handle it. But she's just got to go like this, and the flame comes out. And they're brilliant at doing this.
Our operator, for the pyrotechnic effects, our operator usually sits right here. And Nick is always situated so that he has a direct line of sight on all of the effects, which is critical. We'll never operate a pyrotechnic effect or any large mechanical effect without the operator being able to actually visualize it and see and make sure that it's safe and clear.
Q1 and go.
Safety is also an issue when it comes to flying. Yes, some of the cast gets to fly.
Well, the flying is really interesting. It's created by Flying by Foy, who did the original creation of the Mary Martin Peter Pan. That's what they're most known for. Of course, they've done all the Peter Pans. Once it's done, it looks really easy, but it's actually very intricate. You're just hanging up there and being swung around until you can figure out your new center of gravity and how to get yourself to look good. And then it's up to them to try not to hit you into the floor or the ceiling or the wings. So you're depending a lot on the kindness of strangers, you know.
It's really fun to fly. I like to fly. It hurts a little bit. You have to wear that uncomfortable harness, but it's fun.
In this show, even the makeup is a special effect. You realize, don't you, that Joanne Worley isn't really green?
It's a day glow green, which actually eventually glows in the dark. It's very creepy to see her backstage glowing in the dark. There are 3 of us working in a single night. We're putting on wigs, taking off wigs, collecting wigs, redressing wigs, assisting with makeup, taking care of any emergencies that might happen. It's like a dream come true, it really is.
So, that's the brain power in our show, folks. For the heart, you have to meet a young lady who is at the center of everything in The Wizard of Oz. Like my dear friend Judy Garland, Jessica Grove has the combination of courage, beauty, and talent that is so lovable. And like Judy, Jessica has show business in her blood.
Judy Garland had the sense of wonder and innocence that embodied the character of Dorothy. The producers quickly dismissed the idea of hiring Shirley Temple when 16-year-old Judy sang with a beautiful voice beyond her years.
Beyond the rainbow.
What endeared audiences, not only then, but now and forever, to her, it was her vulnerability, and that she was so honest, and that was such an honest performance.
A very talented Jessica Grove brings the spirit of Judy Garland to her characterization of Dorothy.
I've been studying voice since I was 10, so about 7 years, and then dancing, and you know, I think probably the best training I've gotten theatrically is just doing community theater in Columbus, Ohio.
Jessica Grove is no stranger to the stage, as her theater credits include roles in Oliver, The Turn of the Screw, The Sound of Music, and more. But it's in this role as Dorothy that Jessica's true talents as a performer shine.
We knew that this girl was meant to play Dorothy. And the only thing that we needed from the Judy Garland interpretation, which we all love so much, is that real sense of emotion that she has. That everything is innocent but emotional and passionate about her all the way through the movie. Very, very emotional. And Jessica had that quality.
They found this little girl. She came to rehearsal. When she sang Over the Rainbow the first time, I thought, oh my, what a talent.
Well, first, I think that it's an honor, basically, to get to play the part that Judy Garland played, because she had such an amazing career and she is so talented. I didn't want to try to imitate Judy Garland. I love the way she does the role, but I wanted to kind of make the role my own, in my own way.
By the end of this year, Jessica will be passing on those ruby slippers to some other little girl as she moves on to pursue other acting opportunities.
Passing those ruby slippers on is going to be, it's going to be hard. Definitely it's going to be hard. But in a way, it's really exciting because, you know, I'm helping out with these Dorothy auditions. So I feel like I'm helping to make somebody else's dream come true.
It's going to be tough saying goodbye to Jessica when she leaves the company at the end of summer. We're a very close cast because we love the show and we love working together. And who wouldn't love working in the merry old land of Oz?
Chirp, 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 with a couple of la-dee-das.
We get up at 12 and start to work at 1. Take an hour for lunch and then by 2 we're done. Jolly good fun!
That's how we got the day away
in the merry old land of Oz.
That's how we got the day away.
You know, friends, I'm an old song and dance man myself. Oh, yeah. And what song has ever captured the yearning of the heart better than Somewhere Over the Rainbow? Is there a film score finer than that of Harold Arlen, Yip Harburg, that they produced for The Wizard of Oz? We'll revel in the beauty of their melodies as soon as we come back. Now watch this.
Coming up next, Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, and Richard Pryor star in The Wiz.
Everybody wake up into the morning, into happiness. Oh, wow, like a different way of living now. And thank you, world. Always knew that we'd be free somehow.
From Broadway to the big screen, The Wiz, coming up next on UPN Channel 13.
She sounded fine at first, but then her voice just wasn't right.
Was she using a cellular phone?
She and her friends got mixed up in this. They signed a contract. They're just kids.
Here, it's Sprint PCS. They built the only all-digital, all-PCS nationwide network, so she'll be heard loud and clear.
Thank you.
It happens, but it's gonna end.
Chevrolet cars are trusted by more Americans than any other. Chevy trucks are the most dependable, longest lasting on the road. If that's not enough reason to own a Chevrolet car or truck, then this definitely is. The Great Summer Drive-In from Chevrolet. You can get behind the wheel of a 99 Chevy Venture or Malibu and get $1,500 cash back or low APR financing. Or check out other offers on 99 Cavaliers, Blazers, S10 pickups, and more. It's Chevrolet's Great Summer Drive-In. See your local Chevrolet dealer today.
I see a rose bush with butterflies flitting around.
I see an intricate pattern on an oriental rug.
Oh, I see pink cotton candy.
That would be the insulation aisle.
From home insulation and building supplies to outdoor furniture,
Home Base has all the bases covered.
you'll also find furniture, custom windows, power tools, and a whole lot more. And you'll love the wider, brighter aisles and base buys for big savings. So go to the base, Home Base. We've got all the bases covered.
Welcome back. I'm Dirk Lombard, and as the Tin Man, I know a thing or two about hearts. Well, now that I have one. And the heart of The Wizard of Oz is that timeless score. You know, this music carries tremendous emotional weight with the audience. The response night after night is, well, it's incredible. And from the stage here, we see and hear it all. The tears, the joy, and the laughter.
The music from The Wizard of Oz transcends generations and is known worldwide. It all began in 1938 when composer Harold Arlen and lyricist Yip Harburg were brought from Broadway and asked to write the songs for Oz.
Yip had already done Brother King's Spirit Dime, Paper Moon, and April in Paris. He was already a crafted artist. Harold had already done Stormy Weather and To Get Happy and other things. The two of them were crafted, and they really hit it off.
Arlen and Harburg decided to approach the material as an integrated musical, crafting much of the dialogue and the lyrics in a rhythmic pattern.
To have an integrated story and singing was something that was innovating at that time. And so that set the whole arc of the film.
After the first time you saw it as a kid, you remembered that music. You remembered those little themes somehow. So when you saw it the second time, you recognized it.
We're off to see the wizard, Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, and If I Only Had a Brain resound in our hearts time and time again. Surely, one of the most beautiful songs ever written is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Arlen and Harburg took home the Oscar for Best Song in 1939.
I loved the music in it, and a beautiful musical was that was major dessert when you went to to the movie house.
I'd unravel every riddle for any individual.
Harburg's delightful, daffy lyrics perfectly suit the fantastical setting of Oz, and Arlen's compositions are brilliantly crafted and original.
The film and the songs entered into the American culture in a way that Frank L. Baum intended it to do, but it wouldn't have happened except for the film. And every generation sees that film, so the words in the film, from the lyrics as well as the dialogue, have entered into the culture.
The Lollipop Guild, we wish to welcome you to Munchkin Land.
As brilliant as the score is, one song rises above. It is so wistful, so filled with longing, that it has a special and personal meaning to almost everyone who's ever heard it.
Somewhere Over the Rainbow became Judy Garland's anthem, the song her audience could never do without.
What inspired writing that song was the same things that go into all good theater: the story, the situation, the character. And Yip and Harold decided that we needed a song of yearning.
In later years, the actress said it was the prettiest song in the world, the best song ever written. So it's hard to imagine that studio executives actually contemplated cutting it out of the movie.
Producers make decisions about songs, and they threw Over the Rainbow out 3 times in the preview, threw it out of the picture because they said it was too complicated.
Also, the producers couldn't understand why she was singing this stuff about over the rainbow in a cornfield or in a barnyard.
Finally, Louis B. Mayer said, "Oh, well, let the boys have their song," he said.
Today, Over the Rainbow exists in many different recordings from a very diverse group of artists.
It's very simple. Everybody knows the melody, and a lot of people have covered it and sung it well, and it's always really good. When you hear it, it's magic somehow.
Our leading lady will take us home next. Stay tuned for Jessica Grove and a little more on the timeless lessons of Oz.
Your choice of Chrysler and Plymouth minivans? It's easy with the widest selection from the most luxurious to the most affordable. And now save big during the Chrysler Plymouth Buyer's Choice. Choose $1,000 in cash allowances, or as low as 1.9% short-term financing on all award-winning minivans, including Plymouth Voyager, America's lowest-priced minivan. Hurry, choices like these won't last. The Buyer's Choice for a limited time only.
Buy or lease now at your California Chrysler and Plymouth dealer.
Every time you pull into 76, you have something in common with NASCAR.
Whoa, no, that's good.
Because when NASCAR pulls into the pits, they fill up with 76 with Pro Power. You see, 76 has been the official fuel of NASCAR for over 40 years. For more powerful performance in your car, get the spirit of NASCAR.
13 seconds. Way to go, gang.
Get the spirit of 76.
It was a passion meant to be satisfied quickly. He knew what to do, what buttons to push, how long it would take. It was perfect. Uncle Ben's rice bowls. So satisfying. This was definitely new. Introducing rice bowls, stir up some passion with Uncle Ben's.
The chef at Coco's is putting on quite a show. Check out his rendition of steak and shrimp mixed grill.
Delicious!
A USDA choice sirloin charred with Cajun spices.
Zesty!
Plump, juicy shrimp.
Excellent!
Served with freshly baked bread, plus soup or garden salad. For a limited time, it's all just $10.99.
Perfection!
Coco's Steak and Shrimp Mixed Grill. That ought to be music to your ears.
Mwah.
Coco's, where taste is the main ingredient.
I hope you'll come to the Pantages Theater in Hollywood to recapture your love for The Wizard of Oz and to share it with your children. The magic continues at the Orange County Performing Arts Center in July. Like Dorothy, I've had some wonderful adventures and learned lifelong lessons while I've been in Oz. I'll always hold family and friends close to my heart. And this story will always live in my soul. I'm Jessica Grove, and on behalf of Mickey Rooney, Joanne Worley, and everyone associated with our show, thanks for watching. When L. Frank Baum wrote The Wonderful Wizard of Oz in 1899, he could not have imagined that it would become one of the top 15 best-selling books of the 20th century.
100 years have passed, and today, not far from where L. Frank Baum is buried, his great-grandson is introducing yet another generation to Dorothy and her friends.
Help her. And someday I shall get the other one from you, too. Seem like a very nice person here? No. I really wish I could talk to him sometime. I have a feeling he'd come in and he'd walk around, and he'd look around and he'd see what's going on, and he'd think, 100 years, almost 100 years. And it's just as popular, if not more popular. Wow, I did this?
Whether you read the book, see the film, or hopefully come see the show, there are lessons to be learned in Oz, and everyone connected to the show have found their own truths.
You're never far from where you want to be. It's that close. And I think that's a great lesson.
Peace is in your own heart, and friendship and loyalty are the most important things in the world.
Kids cry at the end of The Wizard of Oz because they don't want them to break up. But there is such a thing about looking into the eyes of the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion and saying, you will always reside in my heart, so I will be with you always.